Bill's going to sit in my lap for this one.
Is that right? I'll move over one.
No, I'm kidding. You're good. Makes it easier for me to put my hand on your knee.
Well, that's what I was hoping.
Oh, I've got a story about that. All right. Are we ready? Welcome to Live at the Blue Box. It is now time for Input Junkie Satellite again. We have another interview tonight. We have, what should I call you? Actor, comedian?
Actor's good.
Actor Bill Russell, who's a friend of mine. Yeah, let's hear it for him.
Very definition of a smattering of applause.
That's right. Now, is that the biggest set of applause you've had all day, or is that the biggest applause you've had all day? So far. It's still early. A little more. There'll be a sprinkling of applause. Yes. So, Bill Russell, let me just set this up. I know Bill from back.
Half an hour.
That's okay. I know Bill from 300 years ago when we both did improv, and he cast me in a show. We actually had a mutual friend, Tracy.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Who you worked with.
I was trying to remember exactly. I couldn't remember yet.
And now you're sorry.
I'm very sorry.
And I auditioned for a show that didn't have a name, and you were trying to put together kind of an anti-Second City, like, we're going to do long form and we're just going to create something new. And you were directing it.
That is correct.
And we ended up in, was it Urbis Orbis?
Orbis. The theater was called Rudely Elegant Theater Company,
Yes.
But they operated in Urbis Orbis, which is an art gallery in Wicker Park.
Yes.
In the city. What? What?
Yes. We were just over there the other day. We went to Flash Taco and hung out there and no Urbis Orbis. You closed the place. Way to go,
I
Bill.
did, yes. After us, they had to shut down. Now, before we get too far away from that, a story that'll kind of relate back to earlier.
Bring it on.
Thing. Somebody who almost was wanted to be in the show, was a guy I had worked with in a bad murder mystery called Prom 63.
I remember you telling me about Prom 63. Okay.
This guy was like, I want to be in your show. I want to work with you. Somebody else who I wanted in there said, I don't think I work real well with this guy, but it was Jon Favreau.
Oh no!
Go on to
you could have been Iron Man
and Swingers and all
you could have been Iron Man.
I could have been.
Actually, you look more like Iron Man's dad, or remember the one that Jeff Bridges played?
Yes,
you could have been him.
Or
you could have been Senator Stern.
I was offered that part and turned it down.
Yeah, I don't know. Is your mic on? Here, switch mics. Grab that mic.
So anyway,
is he on?
Now,
Oh,
there
Bill.
we go. All right, so let's start from the beginning.
This
Hi,
is
Rob.
Bill
I
Russell.
haven't seen you in 20 years.
I got to figure out which mic he is. Talk, Bill.
There's one that's not very loud and one that's too loud.
Is that good? Okay. Yeah, for some reason, we're not plugged in order tonight, so we're just a mess.
That's
But
all right.
so anyway, did you hear his story? No, you did not hear the story.
Okay. What I was saying, Rob and I have worked in an improv.
We'll cancel
show.
all my jokes from that one, too. Go ahead.
Okay. We'd worked at an improv show that I was directing. I'd been asked to direct a show for the Rudely Elegant Theater Company, which is operating in Urbis Orbis, an art gallery in Chicago, in Wicker Park. And somebody who wanted to be in the show, and I ended up not casting him, was an actor that I had worked with in a bad murder mystery dinner theater show called Prom 63, but it was Jon Favreau.
Yeah,
who
that's
went on
amazing.
To write Swingers and now
you're sitting here with
Iron
me.
Man and Elf, and now I'm here with you. So I'm moving up the star ladder.
Right.
Well, at least you return my phone calls.
Yes. Have you seen his? It's not always. Have you seen his Jungle Book? The trailer for Jungle Book?
No, I haven't.
Holy cow.
Really good?
Oh my gosh. I was not excited till I saw it. And I was like, whoa, he really, and Bill Murray's Baloo.
Oh, now I had heard that.
Yeah.
I didn't know John was attached to that, though.
It must be fabulous too, because in the previews, you never hear Baloo's voice. You see him, and you see him floating down the river with Mowgli on his chest, and you hear the whistling of Bare Necessities, but you don't hear the voice. And you're like, if they're not revealing Bill Murray's voice, it must be fabulous.
Yes. Very
wow. Well, you know, we had other people in that show. That as I look at your Facebook page, I keep seeing these same people. You were in with Del Close.
Yes.
And I see people that were in that with you that were in Booty and Swag was the name of our show.
It was Booty and Swag, a name universally hated by everyone but me.
Yeah,
because it was my idea.
No, you and I both liked it.
Then we were the only
We were
ones.
the last two standing in the group too. I'd like to point that out
I
too.
think that's very much correct.
I get to tell this story, and I might get it
All
wrong,
right.
so you can correct me.
I doubt it. Go ahead.
So Bill directs the show, and it was long form improv. And basically, what we would do is he would have, what were there, 9 of us?
I don't remember exactly.
It was a lot.
There was a big.
It was a small
big troop.
football team on
Yeah.
stage. And he would dim the lights halfway and then turn them back up. And in that time where the lights were half dimmed, we had to jump out. It could be one person. It could be 6 people. I remember specifically one where all 9 of us jumped on the stage and went, now what do we do? And the lights come on and you just had to start improvising.
Right.
And Bill was controlling everything from the back. And we did a show where a reviewer from the Chicago Reader was there. You know what I'm going to tell now?
I think I've blocked
I
this
think you
memory,
have.
so go
wait
ahead.
Wait to hear the last
Yeah,
part of it, because if
boy.
you block that.
I'm as eager as everyone else.
So we do the show, and I think the show was good. We had a good time with it. We do the show. The Chicago Reader guy is beat red laughing through the whole thing. It ends, and we're like, oh, man, we killed it. And he asked to interview a couple of us. I was one of them that he talked to. And he was a little snarky about stuff, but he was like, boy, this was really good. It, really enjoyed the show. The review comes out. And I had not read the review yet. I get a call from Bill. Martha and I had just moved into an apartment, and we were laying there watching TV, and I get this call from Bill. I'm like, oh, Bill Russell's calling, and I pick it up, and he says, did you read the review? No. Read the review. Everybody quit the group. You and I are the last 2. So I read the review, and it is gloriously bad.
Yeah.
The first, but wait, it says, like, why would anybody bother with improv? It's a dead form. Chicago's stuck to this, it's got this albatross around its neck, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, everybody quit the group from this. Cut to 6 months later, I walk into an audition, and Bill is sitting there. Hey, Rob. Hey, Bill. Hey, did you ever read the second page? Bill says to me, you ever read the second page of that review? Do you remember this?
No, I do not. I'm telling you, I blocked
It
this.
didn't say it.
Evidently.
It didn't say at the end, continued on page 19. It looked like it was over.
Right.
You said to me, you got to look later in the review. You go to like page 64, and the second part of the review is there, and it says, if you're going to bother with improv, you should see this group because they're fantastic.
I can't believe I don't remember this.
Nobody.
I didn't even remember that we had gotten reviewed. Oh my gosh.
That's what killed the group. That article.
Wow.
Everybody ran off the ship, and you call me up and you're like, we're the last 2. And I said, well, I'm not quitting. And you go, I'm not quitting either, but we don't have a show. And that was it. It was like, okay, well, I guess, but we didn't quit. But it was so funny. I'll never forget that, because I walked in this audition when you said that, like, I couldn't even believe this. I've never let that one go.
Wow.
Because when I found the article,
And
it's
I'm
there.
a pack rat collector of stuff like
You'll
that.
have to see if you
Can't
can find it.
believe, yeah, that I have it.
If they actually read the second page.
we would have made Iron Man if we had
Yeah,
read that
we
second
would have
page.
been an Iron Man. That's basically it.
So you've had a long history with improv. I want to hear about this. So when I met you, you were working at like the Tribune.
I was.
Now, were you aspiring to be an actor, or was this like a hobby, or what was going on?
Well, I had actually, I came to Chicago after I dropped out of Bible college when I realized after 3 years that the ministry wasn't for me, or I should say I wasn't for the ministry.
Right.
It's probably a more apt way to put that. Came to Chicago, sort of fell into this job at the Chicago Tribune. But then I had to decide, okay, what do I really want to do? Never in a million years would I have thought I'm going to end up working for the Chicago Tribune for 28 years, which is
Oh
what
my
I
gosh.
ended up doing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Boy, you're
I
old.
started, I am. I'm very, very old. I was born the same time Richard Wagner was in the 1800s. So I started taking screenwriting classes at Columbia College, and it was the early 80s when a lot of movies that were coming out were people who'd been part of Second City. Brian
Absolutely.
Doyle Murray and Bill Murray and Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis was on
and
fire
Belushi
at that
and all
point.
these
Yeah.
guys. And I thought, oh, maybe that's a good way to make connections and develop some creative skills.
Sure.
So I started studying at the Players Workshop, which
That's
there
where I
wasn't-
studied too.
There wasn't a Second City training center yet.
No.
It was just starting up about the time I left Players Workshop.
And that's where Bill Murray got his start.
It is.
Was
and
Training
George
Center.
Wendt and Betty Thomas. For
Yeah,
those
a
of you who
lot
remember
of people
Betty
went
Thomas.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it was the improv training place for Second City.
Right.
Although it wasn't connected technically with
Technically,
Second,
right.
with Second
We
City.
don't need to give the history of Players
No.
Workshop.
Yeah. Well, it was founded
was.
in Lincoln Avenue, and no. And then from there, I started going over to the Improv Olympics, and specifically because Del Close had gotten involved. I'd seen what they were doing before Del became part of it. Sharna Halpern, who's the producer there, was doing just short form stuff and kind of similar to what Comedy Sports does, if you've seen that. Just short improv games. The teams were made up of people who were in the same profession. Like there was media people were in a troupe called Media Rare.
Right.
And there were groups made of cops, groups made of clergymen. And then
Holy Rollers. That was
yeah,
from The Simpsons.
something like that. Then Del got involved and came in with this. Well, I have this thing called the Herald. I do, which is you improvise a short one-act play, which
Long form
now has
improv,
become
yeah.
known as long form. And I thought, ooh, that sounds interesting. And I had read a book, an oral history of Second City called "Something Wonderful Right Away" by Jeffrey Sweet. And he interviewed Del, and I thought, this he's crazy, but he's brilliant.
Yes.
So I went over and got involved, and I was there for a couple of years, and I was with.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I worked with Kim Howard Johnson,
Actually,
who
Howard
you might
Johnson
know.
is the reason it was named Booty and Swag, because
That's right.
he walked on stage as a pirate in another show and said, "Yar, I'm here for my booty and swag," and that
That's
stuck
correct.
with you,
That is
and that's
correct.
how we got our name,
Yeah.
and everyone hated it, except you and I. It was funny.
And some people may know Howard. He's written several books about Monty Python. He's also written a couple books about comedy, Truth and Comedy, with Del and Sharna as co-writers that he wrote. So that was like the mid '80s. And I worked with Phil Lamar. Phil Lamar was going to Northwestern at that time, and they had a troupe that came for the summer. So some of these geek connections
Yeah, right.
go that far back. And now, 30 some years later, I perform and teach at the Comedy Shrine in Aurora. It's right by the Fox Valley Mall. So
Now,
not tonight because you're staying here for this,
right.
but some other weekend.
But you
come
could
on
always
out.
leave here
Come on out.
afterwards and go see one of your shows.
Yeah,
because they do
absolutely.
run late too.
Yeah, there's an 8 o'clock show and there's a 10 o'clock show. So
It's a little dirty.
it's very dirty. It's called The Naughty Show.
Yes.
So,
Starring Bill Russell.
yeah.
So
I bring a lot of my ministerial training onto stage with me there.
yeah. Well, after Pat Robertson was fired, you took over.
I
and-
did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are you teaching improv? Or are you teaching stand-up comedy? I know they do some stand-up comedy there.
They do stand up there. I'm teaching improv, and ironically, it is short form that we do.
Really? Okay.
There, yeah. The shows are called The Who's Line at 8 o'clock and The Who's Line Naughty Show at 10 o'clock. They're very similar. If you've ever seen the Whose Line Is It TV show, it's basically that.
It's
same
basically
thing,
improv
except
games,
we
quick
don't
and
have the
fast.
luxury of having a show that's going to be edited, so the bad stuff gets cut out like they do on the TV show. Or because, oh, those guys are so awesome. How did they do that? I know for a fact that there's
Right.
a lot of stuff that bombs or just doesn't work.
That 2-hour show was cut down to a
Yeah.
half hour, and it
And-
was amazing.
And their musical person, Laura Hall, who's married
Are
to
you
Rick
kidding?
Hall
That's who that is?
from Second City. Yeah,
Wait,
she
the
used
musical
to,
person on that show?
Yes, she was.
She was our musical person.
That's correct. That's correct. So she's come back and done workshops at the Comedy Shrine.
Wow.
And so we know, they tell us the stories of, there's like a whole show that nothing was usable. It just everything bombed, but you don't get to see it. So
It's what happens.
We get to bomb with it. People get to see it. And
So do we.
we get to
We're
not
doing
wanna,
it right now.
not want to show our faces in public again.
We are bombing as we speak. The internet just shut down. It's awesome. So
But yes, they do. There is stand up there. And again, to bring back another name from earlier in the evening, Todd Bridges was just there recently.
really
We had Jimmy J.J. Walker a few months ago.
excellent.
Dustin,
You had Michael Winslow.
Michael Winslow. Thank you. I forgot about him. Was there. Dustin Diamond, who was Screech on Saved by the Bell.
How was he?
I didn't see his set because I was in the other show at the time, but I'm told he was pretty funny. But
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you ever get into that stand-up thing? Did you ever try that?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but not really. It wasn't something I wanted to do, and it's not the same thing as improv. People think, well,
No.
if you do improv, you can do stand-up as well. Some people can, but it's not the same animal.
I ran into that because when we moved to Minneapolis and I had my agents there, I wasn't doing any improv. I was done.
Right.
And they were saying, you should do stand-up comedy. You're funny. You've got this background. You should do it. I went to one. I'm going to expose something here I have never told in public.
Really? Oh.
I went to one open mic night. Martha encouraged me. I said, I'm not going to go up there unless I feel urged, but I'm going to go sit and watch. I didn't make it 20 minutes. I hate it so much. I just was like, I can't do this. I came home. She's like, you're already home. I'm like, oh, I need a salt bath. This was horrible. No way, man. I am not a stand-up comedian.
Right.
I did not enjoy it.
And that's one of the things about improvisation is one of the basic things that you learn is you take care of your scene partner. It's not about you being on stage and
Right.
being funny. You set your partner up so they can be funny and they do the same thing for you.
Right.
And that works. So that's the same thing for me. To be just standing up there all by myself with a microphone,
It's
not me.
very different.
Very different.
And you know what? I run into people that are that animal. Great.
Right.
But
I'm
not that improv
I've
animal
known people
either.
who are great stand-up comics who can't do improv.
You know what's interesting to me when I look at your Comedy Shrine stuff? The names of the guys that are around there are all the guys that either I knew or were around the scene in the 80s when I was there. Like Dave Pasquazi, I see his name
Yeah.
out there all the time.
Well, Dave and I were on the same troupe. I don't know if people know who Dave Pasquazi
He
is.
very
he
funny.
plays Julia Louis-Dreyfus's husband on Veep.
Oh, does he? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I don't watch that show.
He
No
had a
residual
small
money for
part
me.
in like Father of the Bride 2, and he was in Groundhog Day. He played
Yes.
the psychiatrist in Groundhog Day.
Yes.
And the State Farm commercials, he does the voiceover at the end. That's where he
Are you
makes
his agent? Are you
money
trying to
right
book
now.
something for him here?
I'm trying to schmooze him. I'm hoping he gets me work.
Right.
Like you guys are
Just
saying
like
earlier,
Favreau did.
Yeah.
Oops.
You're saying how they were desperately avoiding work. I effortlessly avoid work. and we have this agreement. I avoid work and work avoids me.
So do you
it
teach
works out
only
that way.
adults? Do you teach kids?
No, actually, at the Comedy Shrine, it's primarily adults. They do offer classes for kids, but it really there is not a lot of children interested in improv in Aurora anyway.
Okay.
But I teach classes for the Fox Valley Repertory Performing Arts Academy in St. Charles.
Is that what I've seen? Because I've seen something you've posted about kids, and that's you teaching that?
Yeah, so I've worked with kids as young as 8 years old.
Is that
But I
scripted
also
or improv?
that's improvisation. But I've also I do classes at a senior citizens residence in Geneva.
So you just walk out of your room and
Where- Yes, exactly. I'm more like I get wheeled out,
okay.
and
Warm socks on.
there's
and-
people
okay.
there in their late 80s. So it's literally from 8 to 88 are people I've worked with, and that seniors are lots of fun.
I bet.
And most of them have no theatrical experience whatsoever, and they love it.
Yeah.
And they get to bring their life experience and share it in a fun way.
That's
You know.
excellent. That is
So, yeah,
really
it's
fun.
a lot of fun. It
I
really
would
is.
watch a senior citizens improv show.
Yeah. Oh, I keep
think-
telling them, you guys really should organize. And I'm going to continue talking. I'm going to be there again this coming Tuesday. I'm going to talk to the activities director and say, let these people put on a show, because they really
They're
are
really good, huh?
hysterical.
I taught improv to Molly's homeschool group, and it was supposed to be 8 to 16 or something. And then I got pressured, and it became like 4 to 16.
Oh, wow.
There were like 25.
Yeah, I had like 25 kids in the class. But you want to hear the crazy part, Bill? The thing I was most shocked by, there were 4-year-olds that when I explained, I was just explaining basics. Let's do a little who, what, and where are, and let's do some basic like improv games. They were doing it and actually funny. actually good. And I'm going, you're 4. Like, I'm 47 and I stink at this now. What happened?
Well, you know, kids naturally know how to play pretend, and that's what improvisation is.
Right.
You go, oh, let's play that we're in a coffee shop, and you don't have to plot it out.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Right.
And we lose that as we get older.
Yeah. So your career, I want to talk about that for a second here. We
All
still
right,
got about 10 minutes.
All right.
So you and I did a commercial together.
We did.
We were the 5 Bills. There was only one Bill on set.
And that was me.
But I got to wear his shirt that said Bill on it, which is great. And he found it. I saw it on Facebook. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I look like a tool. It's great. You have hair.
I know all the hair was up here and was not here.
Right.
If you want to see Rob's commercial, you can actually go to my YouTube channel, which is actor Bill Russell. If you Google that,
is that where it is?
Find it.
I don't have any of my commercials.
Yeah,
I don't.
So it's on there.
I hadn't seen that in 20 years. I was cracking
and then
up.
there's also a little interview with Del Close that they have footage interspersed with. Some of us performing on stage, and Dave Pasquazi's in there, and Joel Murray is in there, who's one of the long line of Murray brothers.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got to watch that.
Yeah.
I haven't been to your channel to look at that. I will absolutely check that out. Anyway, we did commercials together. Did you stay with it? Have you done a lot of like commercial work? Did you ever do any films? What's going on?
I was getting enough of that kind of work in 1989 that I actually left the Tribune, and they said, well, if you quit, our policy is we don't hire people back. So just make sure this is what you want to do. But then,
okay, see ya.
I was married, and we started a family, and 4 years later, the Tribune made me a generous offer to come back. But
really?
But at that point, they'd gone from a 9-to-5 job to an overnight job. So everyone was disgruntled.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, well, I'll have the day free to still do, auditions and stuff,
and whatever.
Not being able to do theater because I couldn't in the evenings. The agents kind of forget about you after a while. So I'm restarting that.
All right. So you're trying to get into theater, or trying to get back into? I mean, I know you're doing theater with.
Yeah, I'm doing theater there. I do voiceover narration things. I've done some small on camera.
So you're trying to get back to it.
Yeah.
We need to have a support group because I just got headshots this week. So
congratulations.
Yeah. Well, it's not because I want to get back into it. It's I had some success with it, and then I stopped cold turkey. It's been 15 years.
Yeah.
And people have been telling me to get voiceover work.
Right.
So it's like, well, I think that an easier route for me is to get an agent and then talk to them, and they go, oh, hey, you should do voiceover. I think that'll be easier for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
hey, it's potentially very lucrative. It's a hard market to get into, but if you do, you can make tremendous amounts of money.
Now, here's a question. Did you do any films? Did you ever get into that? Did you do any low budget films or anything? Not your porno years. I don't want to hear about that.
Are you sure? Because we could talk a lot.
There's a lot there, right?
The porno years.
Yeah.
That's also on my YouTube channel. So be sure.
It's got Dave Pasquazi
but not
George
at work.
Wendt.
Just don't access it at work.
This ain't Cheers with George Wendt and you. Okay. Anyway,
I did some TV things. I was small parts in America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. I was a finalist. And everybody was, were you the killer? And I was like, no.
I can't pass up the America's Most Wanted. Were you cast, or was it just you were the featured Most Wanted?
Well, 2 different episodes, both.
Right,
so
okay.
yeah, there was one where they were looking for me, and then one where I.
This just did while we were filming Bill Russell.
I was a finalist on a couple of episodes of America's Funniest People, and one of my commercials was in the World's Funniest Commercials.
Really?
I did a commercial for Joe Settlemeyer, who was the guy who directed the Wendy's "Where's the Beef" commercial.
Yeah,
but he was really famous through like the 90s for using real people, but he also used actors sometimes in his commercials. But
you did an Empire commercial too, didn't you? Didn't I see you on one where you were like an elf or something?
I may have blocked that along with the Booty and Swag review because I don't remember that. But
yes, you were an elf in something.
How?
Yeah, because we go, it's Bill Russell.
Okay.
But you know what? I can't. Because I have to write my resume. I can't remember either. So
Yeah.
you know what? It sucks getting old.
It does.
Yeah. So you're getting back into it.
Yes.
What are you hoping to achieve? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to get like a film career, or you just want commercial work?
I would.
Or?
Well, I mean,
I'm really surprised you didn't continue because I always thought you were so
Yeah.
good.
well, thank you.
And knowing that you were continuing, when
Yeah.
I first saw this connection, I was like, he had to be working this whole time.
Yeah. There was just a point where it got to be too much, and sometimes I would have to turn down auditions because I just couldn't do it with my schedule.
Right.
And you do that a few times, and they just stop calling you. You know,
Right.
I had Brooke at Big Mouth Talent. I don't know if you were with Big Mouth. I
No.
mean, she said that to me. She goes, "I don't call you anymore because I don't know if you're going to be available or not." So,
Interesting.
it was just hard to sustain it from that point of view.
I'm not with anybody because I stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, I stopped, but time to see if something can happen.
Right. Right.
I figure if Justin Bieber can get work, I can get work. I've got the
Exactly.
same abs, so they're just hidden.
So yeah,
Got no laughs.
ideally, I mean, realistically, commercials are what's going on in Chicago, but there's a lot of film and TV being shot here now.
Right.
When I was still working at the Tribune a few years ago, they set up one of the scenes for Transformers right outside my window. There's a scene that takes place by the Michigan Avenue.
are you looking out the
Bridge.
window
So
in
I
the
got to
movie?
watch it for
Optimus Prime
A
goes
couple
by
of
and there's
nights.
this guy looking out the window.
pretty much.
Who's that
something-
creep?
Yeah. So, and there's Chicago PD and Chicago Fire being filmed here. and
Yes.
So, there is work to be had, but commercials are really where you have the potential to make some money.
Right. And this is a
Unless you
good-
become a big star in something, you can actually make a lot more money doing commercials than you can in films.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I know a woman who did one commercial. It paid her so much, she paid cash for a big ass house in Minnesota.
Wow.
Cash. And she was like, this was one residual check. Like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't buy McDonald's with what I made. But-
Right. Exactly.
So, Bill, I think we're just about out of time.
All right.
I want you to plug your stuff. You mentioned your YouTube channel.
Got a YouTube channel.
Talk about where people can see you. I want everybody to go see Bill because he is very funny
Thank
and he's
you.
really good at what he
Thank you.
does.
I work at the Comedy Shrine. Not every Friday and Saturday because we kind of changed the cast up a little bit, but I usually have it on my Facebook page. So you can check Improv Essentials is my Facebook page for improv. The Comedy Shrine is really where I'm performing most of the time now. I'm probably going to start doing some stuff at I.O. again.
Okay.
Which is what Improv Olympic is now I.O. I don't know if you're
didn't
aware.
know that.
I don't know if you're aware. This is the true story. Sharna Halpern had to change the name. She got sued by the United States Olympic Committee, saying that they could not
because of
use
Improv
the
Olympics.
name Olympic. So Improv Olympic, she just changed it to I.O. And
I didn't. I kept
Yeah.
seeing things from I.O. and
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? But there are good people involved there.
oh, very good people, yeah,
See,
and
I
a lot of people who you would know came through.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Carell and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler,
Well, that group
Adam McKay.
then got sucked up by Second City.
Yeah, a lot of those people went to
And
Second City.
they came from that Improv Olympics
Yeah.
group. And a lot of them were,
Chris Farley went through that.
they came from
Andy
the
Dick.
Del Close thing. So, yeah, that was one thing I missed out on. I have a great story about Del Close. A friend of mine told me.
All right, do you have time to tell it?
I have it's quick.
Okay.
He was doing a show, and he said that there was a movie. It was the Blob, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was showing up, and they said he stunk. You ever hear this story?
No, but that does sound like Del.
And finally, somebody had to approach him and say, Del, there's something. And he goes, it's my character's hidden thing. I've got it. Every character has to have hidden. They go, well, but you stink. Well, I've got coleslaw in my pants. He kept coleslaw in his pants as his hidden thing that no one would know, and that was his character's
Well,
hidden motivation.
I hadn't heard that he did that for Blob, but he told the story that he had done that when he was a performer at Second City
He had
in the
coleslaw in his
60s.
I heard it was the Blob and that it stunk, and they had to finally
it
approach
could be
him.
that he did it again, or it could be that somebody's mashed those
Yeah, it could
stories, because he used to tell the story, but he was in a play that he did that
Fantastic.
to keep the character fresh. And then
Not so fresh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he meets a young lady in the bar, and later in the evening, he has to reveal that he has coleslaw in his
pants.
underwear. So,
Well, that's it. Thank you, Bill. I would love for you to come back. I'd love
I
to
would
talk
love to be
more on this.
back.
You know, we should have.
you might have a hard time getting rid of me now. I'm not
No.
going to give up my chair.
What we should do is, if you want to get any of those guys here, we could do a night just talking about those old times.
That'd be awesome.
I would love it. So I'm leaving that to you.
All right.
And we'll have a little. We can make it a theme night. We can talk about all that stuff because I think it's great. So that's in your plate.
All
So
right.
Thank you, Bill. Let's hear it for Bill Russell. Everybody
Thank
go
you.
see him at the Comedy
Thank
Shrine.
you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
And
you.
take his classes.
Yeah, please.
And send everybody to take his classes. Thank you, Bill. This was wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, Blue Box, thank you very much. We will be back in a moment with Trivia Mayhem, our game show.